So first of all, let me express my gratitude to the Guild, Slack, and SME Futures for inviting me as a moderator for this session. I am honored and privileged to be among such an audience, such an august panel who are at the forefront of both cloud and AI in their respective organizations. So the way we plan to structure this would be that, first of all, we will have opening comments from all our panelists, if that's okay with the panel members. And then thereafter, we will have specific questions to understand how and what ways they are using cloud and they are using AI to turn around the businesses that they are working in. So, because today the CIO and the CTOs are not merely the technology people. They are the people who are driving the business strategies in their organization. So how and what was the role that they are playing in their respective organizations? That would be the second part of the structure. And the third part is where we will come to the audience. We would want audience to participate. We want this to be an interactive session. So we will invite questions from each of the, for each of the panelists or for me as well, if there are specific queries. So with that, we will very quickly start. So, the way we look at it, today AI definitely is being used. AI is being used, and AI cannot use in isolation. AI is heavily dependent on cloud. So it needs to be the enterprise platform, which has a robust data, needs to be made available onto a cloud environment, and then thereafter, specifically the foundation models need to be trained according to the requirements of the organization. That is how we have seen most of the organizations using it. They are using it across the value chain. If we take an example of airline industry today, from the time that a person inquires onto a portal till the time the check-in happens and they move on to cross the security gate, have an experience inside the flight, and then thereafter they move out. And across this entire value chain, we see AI playing a huge role, not only in terms of customer experience, but also enhancing the experience wherever there is a touch point, either with respect to the security officials or with respect to the check-in staff, or it is related to something related to the in-flight experience, whether it is curating the content which is consumed by the people when they are inside the airline, or the kind of food choices that they have. The AI plays a huge role into that. We talk about AI playing huge role into efficient operations, improving the customer experience, predictive maintenance of the entire logistic value chain, and also giving a personalized experience. So definitely it plays a big role. So from that perspective, if we'll start from, sir, with you, we would want to understand, yours is an industry where we very clearly see a huge, I would say, improvement that is there in all the aspects of the value chain, whether it is the customer side or whether it is the operation side. So we would want to understand how and what ways you have been using cloud and then AI on that cloud for digital transformation.
Okay. Thank you, Amit, for having me here. It's a privilege to be part of this panel. See, the theme of this panel is, if I have to take, there are three components. One is cloud, second is AI, and third is digital transformation. So broadly, if you have to look at it, that cloud and AI, they are the two main vehicles of the digital transformation now. If you had asked me the same question 3 years back, probably answer may not have been so, emphatic, but now it is all the more because of the way consumers are behaving, the way channels are behaving, the way data is getting created. And there's tons of data. Last 3-4 years, the amount of data is generated is humongous. So what are you going to do with the data? And you need only two things, right? You need an infrastructure which can basically manage on-demand situation, infrastructure which is secure, infrastructure which has a lot of inbuilt facilities, inbuilt capabilities, and that's where cloud comes in. And also, if we need to now bring some intelligence into the process, and you want to move from a reactive nature to a predictive nature to a prescriptive nature, there is where the AI, Gen AI is useful. So both from the operating model perspective, there is no other way to do business. If you want to be relevant to the market, if you want to be relevant to your stakeholders, you want to be relevant to your customers, the only way you can be is you tweak your operating model. You tweak your business model. And it is high-level statement. It can be customized for every customer, every industry. So that is the bottom line of it. And the digital transformation per se has its own, interpretation, because it is a very, misused or more oftenly talked about term. But the meaning for the enterprise is different for every organization. Some people may think about, for me, automation is the main theme. It's also, you cannot say it's not a digital transformation, right? You talked about efficiency, and automation is a huge lever for efficiency. Similarly, if you are now talking about security aspect of it, and if you are a regulated industry, I'm bringing back to the airline specific. So we are a regulated industry. So if you are a regulated industry and you have to be compliant with the regulations, you have to be compliant with the GDPRs of the world. So you need to make sure your focus is on the security and compliance. So that is the second. It's also an aspect of digital transformation. And now if your focus is only, I have got, for example, Vistara was born on cloud. So we didn't have to worry about a legacy of moving from on-prem to the new world. But having said that, we were on cloud doesn't mean much, because managing the cloud, right sizing the cloud, and making sure that you have to tame the cloud. You cannot sit back and relax and say that I have got cloud in my portfolio and now everything will be done. It doesn't work like that. So you need to make sure that you right size it, you tame it, you from cost perspective, and you are not too much dependent on one cloud provider. That's also a problem. So all those things I think we'll talk in more detail. I thought this from the opening standpoint of view, that a lot of themes, like you said, about efficiency will play always a role, because that is the low-hanging fruits. Automation will play a role. But the real power of cloud, AI, and digital transformation comes when you start integrating with the business, when you start actually taking decisions. And those decisions are not taken in air, those decisions are driven by the data, which is underlying this whole AI platform. So I'll take a pause here.
Okay, thank you. Cloud and AI being vehicles on which the digital transformation will move. So taking a example, when you said Vistara was born in cloud, and but that does not necessarily put you at a commanding position or at a position where you will be able to reap all the benefits that typically we see might accrue because of cloud first approach. So I think when the pandemic hit in 2020, and when we were moving from I would say the physical to the virtual world, there were two tools which actually came very handy, and to enable the entire remote workforce, and one such tool was Zoom specifically. And the way we saw us adapting to the virtual way of working and connecting and doing the business through Zoom and through various other channels. So from that perspective, I think how and what way Zoom was able to scale up and what enabled Zoom to do that. Definitely we would want to hear, Rajnish, from your perspective, your opening comments, your story from there, and how and what ways you see AI helping your specific organization, your specific clients. Because I'm sure you are working with more than one client specifically on how and what ways the digital transformation can happen. So from your perspective, how do you look at the way this entire trend has changed the way people do business today?
Wonderful. Thank you, Amit, for this. So let me start with a little question. This is the engagement part for the audience. When do you think the first chatbot came into existence? First AI chatbot that came into existence. Just take a guess. Take a guess. Huh? So we talk of AI as such a buzzword today. Virtually every event that I go to, people are talking of AI and generative AI. Sure, generative AI is new. But AI, I worked on AI 40 years ago, 30 years ago. I was with TCS those days. And yeah, I've coded on AI. I've done predictive analysis, 30, 35, 40 years ago. The first AI chatbot was created, believe it or not, in 1966. So AI has been present. Don't worry about AI being, today's buzz. Actually, in 1966, the first chatbot was created. And this was, well, when the first time I heard this, I was amazed, totally out of my wits. Very quickly, Amit, since we have a time, well, you've given me a time of 5 minutes, I'll split it up into two parts. The first part, let me talk what I see in the industry happening, and then I'll take Zoom as an example, to the point that you raised. Zoom's roadmap, by the way, is entirely AI-centric. And we've taken a call to say we will give it out free of cost to the people, along with the bundle licenses that they already have. So how many of you are Zoom users? Just a show of hands. So yeah, quite a lot in the room. So I don't know if you appreciated that or not, but with every license of Zoom that you buy, now AI is bundled into the entire exercise. So whatever I'm going to talk of is already there with you. You may or may not have started using the AI companion, for example, but it is already bundled as part of what you're paying for the license fees. Let me talk of the industry. What I've seen from a CIO's perspective, and having been in those days, now I'm revealing my age, but from the days when a CIO was supposed to be support staff for the CEO and the senior leadership team, today the CIO is absolutely central, absolutely center stage. In fact, product designs, etc. So if you typically go from ideation to prototyping to execution and then improvements and so on and so forth, right across, other than maybe the ideation piece which, the business is creating or the founder of small startups, etc. are creating, prototyping is where probably AI has impacted the most. And of course, execution and improvement is already done. So today I find more and more a CIO wearing a strategic hat. It's not an IT hat. You're only connecting the dots with what you see happening on the horizon and connecting the dots with what is best for my business. So it's a strategic hat. It's not really an IT hat. Amit, like you started off yourself as well. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I want to leave it at that for the moment. Let me talk a little about Zoom. So first and foremost, the impression that people have of Zoom, and now that I've attended quite a few of these seminars, I believe the misconception is still existing that Zoom is really a video conferencing app. No, it's not. It's a full-fledged UCaaS collaboration tool. So it's an omni-channel tool. So for example, last year we launched the contact center as an omni-channel contact center in the US. Hopefully we'll get that soon in India as well. But whether you want to have a web chat, whether you want to have an email contact, whether you want to have a phone contact, a video contact, or whatever as the case may be, you don't need to switch channels. Zoom will offer you that entire piece. Now, where has AI Companion added value to the Zoom video conferencing piece? Sure, I can get a summary at the end, so I don't need to look at the entire, if I missed a meeting, I don't need to look at the entire recording of 1 hour. I can get a summary out of even if I'm joining late, I can ask the question of my AI companion to say, tell me what I've missed in the first 10 minutes. And I'll get a quick piece. So as I jump in, I know exactly what's happening in the meeting and who said what and so on and so forth. So those are the pieces which I know you may already be familiar with. But I don't know if you're familiar with the fact that spaces management, if I want to book a room and there are, or book a seat. So if you have 100 employees, you don't need to have 100 seats, maybe 50 seats, so cafeteria seating. And again, Zoom offers you the facility of mapping a workstation to the individual. A QR code scan, and this workstation is allocated to me, and I don't need to have a fixed workstation. I didn't know if you realize that or not, but Zoom is giving you that capability. Visitor management, Zoom is doing that. Workforce management, Zoom is doing that. So like I said, it is a full-fledged collaboration tool rather than just a video conferencing app. It used to be an app 3 years ago, but the number of innovations that keep happening is very difficult even for an insider to keep track. Forget about the rest of the world. So here I am sharing a little piece of that.
Okay. Sorry. So that's an interesting I would say, Zoom emerging from a video app to a complete collaboration tool. Even I was not aware of many of the, I would say, features that you spoke about. So moving on to our next panelist, I would say, Mohit. Mohit, specifically from your perspective, how and what ways you have, because yours is a new age company, a company which is a phygital in kind of a nature. So from your perspective, how and what ways your opening comments of how cloud and AI has helped your organization to scale?
Thanks, Amit. Hi, everyone. So for us, I'm just give you a brief. I'm from Chayos. We have a cafe chain of 200 plus stores as of now. And one of the things that we took a call back in 10 years back is that we will do things differently so that we can grow the business differently. And that's where the whole journey of digital first started. Omni-channel today is probably the hygiene of the system, but 10 years back was a wow experience that whatever I get outside can be delivered at home within minutes of it. So we started from there. We started building out technology in-house. Everything that you see at Chayos, be it the business side or the consumer-facing side, has been built in-house. But one of the key problems that we wanted to solve was that our customers needed a consistent experience. And, and personalization was our USP. So personalization and consistent, they generally don't go hand in hand. If you have to personalize something, you might personalize it today in a specific way, but having a consistent experience over and over years is difficult. So we took this as an opportunity and we said that, we will do personalization at scale. And when we started doing personalization at scale, the first and foremost thing came up was, what about the product that we serve? It's the chai. And how can you give, let's say, 80,000 different varieties of chai which is personalized to the customer's need over and over again, consistently throughout. So that's how it started. And today, as we look at it, the AI is right there in our machines, from figuring out whether this cup of chai is actually made correct and can be served to the customer is all done through AI. And it is nothing but the years of learning that the machine has done, and it has figured out, that whether I am functioning correctly or not is also what the machine tells. So that's how the transformation has happened. But for us, technology, digital part, the cloud part has become the go-to strategy. Any and every decision that we take in the company is an ROI-based decision, whether we need to do this investment. We have a lot of data which backs up our decision making. And I think everybody else is talking about AI plus the cloud part of it. But one thing, with the Gen AI coming up, I'll just take a couple of minutes to, just to give you a sense of how Gen AI is helping us. So we are primarily using Gen AI for our backend ops and not for the customer facing as of now. But when we started with this whole understanding of Gen AI, we said that we'll understand a problem statement in the system, and then we'll try to find out how this Gen AI can help us. To give you an example, we do a lot of rentals and lease agreements and everything, right? And it's a 30 to 45 days process from scouting a site to finally deciding whether I need to open it or not. Now we gave ourselves a target key, all the way from scouting a site to finally opening it, we'll open it in 25 days. And with that, we started working backward. And today we have, a model which we have trained on all our lease documents and everything. And you just upload a new lease document and you say that whether I'm covered with all these 20 points, and you don't need a legal advisor to do that. And the AI will tell you that you are covered or you're not covered and what aspects you need to cover in your lease agreement. So it's a starting point. We build small applications like, fraud detection. Give it the sales data of 3 months. Tell it that this user is a particular fraud basis the billing pattern, and tell me all other similar customers that are doing fraud in the system. So it would spit out those results, and then you can cross-check it with the ground level reality and get the things done. Now, building a fraud detection would take at least 15-20 days for a data person to come in. So AI has become an assistant, and that's what we're working on, is building us as part of the company's culture. everybody should use these tools to be able to make their lives easy. AI will, and Gen AI will remove the monotonous part, will not replace the creativity and innovation, but to get to a particular solution, what we are doing is how quickly we can arrive, or how quickly can we do a POC before we actually take a call, business call. So it has really helped us in last, 1.5, 2 years, and we continue to invest in the AI part of it, the Gen AI part of it, yeah.
Okay.
And probably
Thanks.
the $20 worth spent, which is what we've seen.
Okay. Thanks, Mohit. I think one important aspect which you touched upon was related to personalization at scale. So while we talk about personalization at scale, the anonymity is also something which is important, considering the entire privacy and security kind of a thing, and the personal data protection will come into the picture. I'll just share one example related to personalization at scale, yet maintaining anonymity. So in 2019, when the Kumbh happened in Prayagraj, AI was put to use in an innovative way of how and what ways the typical story that we see, that two brothers got separated in the Kumbh Mela and they could not meet. So in 2019, we actually worked with Government of India and Government of Uttar Pradesh on how and what ways we can actually put a edge computing on those cameras which were installed in the areas, and basis which we were able to innovatively train the model to identify what will be the potential of this person being found in some other sector, which is the entire Kumbh area. And to the surprise, the way model trained and the way it worked out, in 2019, that was the first Kumbh in the history where not a single case of undetected missing person was left. That means 100% cases were resolved with respect to any unidentified person. So that's the scale of personalization at scale, yet anonymization. So this is something which an innovative use of AI. So this came to my mind when you said personalization at scale. Moving on to our next panelist, Mohit. So specifically from your perspective, the kind of business that you are, I would say one of the biggest challenges in your kind of a case would be, I would say, the data consistency and the quality of data is something which, so maybe for our audiences, would you want to talk about that as your opening remarks?
Yeah. Thanks. I hope I'm audible. Quite humble and privileged to be here. Thanks, Amit, for calling me. Before I start, recently I came across a term, verbified platforms. Now, by our English basic knowledge, we know doing words are called verb. Let us see what we are doing these days. I ordered through Swiggy, I booked Ola, I paid through Paytm. So all our verbs have a digital platform. Anything and everything that we see around us has a digital enablement. With a legacy of 6+ decades for us, I belong to Somani Empresa Group, which is known for iconic brand Hindware. So we had a legacy of 6+ decades, and everything was supposed to be overhauled with digital, and COVID became the catalyst wherein boardrooms were really, really serious about this. In our kind of business, technology advancement like Mohit mentioned on Chayos and all were not very strongly seen. For us, the challenge was to build from something which was legacy and enabling it with digital things. And when we met our CEOs, the demand was to do everything yesterday because there was so much of legacy involved. So we had to prioritize and we have to think what is it that creates the impact while technology is also solving it at a pace which they would demand. And we kind of overhauled our own entire teams. We created go-to-market initiatives, then Industry 4.0 for our manufacturing plants, as well as the automation part. And data was the enabler across these 3 layers. The first layer was business as usual, the roti kapda makan, CRMs, DMS, then something which will build resilience for us, which were things like master data management on data side, or enabling our customers with chatbot, WhatsApp. The third layer comes where AI came into existence. So for us, it was not the first thing. It was not even the second thing. It was the third thing because of the legacy that we had. And in the third layer, now we are exploiting and exploring technologies like Gen AI or the advanced things from the AI, computer vision and other things. While all of these things were done, the biggest challenge, what Amit you said, now I'll come to your question, is on the quality of data because of so many legacy applications like SAP, so many satellite applications which we introduced, Salesforce.com or our influence marketing thing, logistic, warehouse management, they all had their data in silos. And AI is as good as your quality of data. It's in a loosely said language, could be garbage in, garbage out. So if the qualities of data were not consistent, then the output is of no use. And let me take a simple example to explain. Let's say if you are a potential credit card customer, then you may book some query that I want to ask for a credit card, and someone may call you from the lead generation side. And one day you book, let's say Nitin Dhingra is my name, so I book with Nitin Dhingra, Nitin D, and I get onboarded. So their service team may be having my name as Nitin D, while I am the customer, but the leads team may still call me and say, sir, would you like to be onboarded with us? So this is because of inconsistency of data. One department would know me as Nitin Dhingra, the other would know me as Nitin D. Though I am a customer, but there in records I will not be there, and I may have two entities for doing the slicing, dicing of data. And to me, it is an annoyance. To them, the data is of no use without quality. For us, the biggest challenge was this also, because we are a conglomerate and various silos of data existed. So we created something called master data management, where all our records, whether it is coming from dealer management system or the SAP, which is the ERP for us, or any other challenge, gets converted or converged to master data management, where we have a golden record. So all the entities, like I told you, their existence would be with different names in different applications. But now, in one single source of truth, they are having unique identity, and the possible AI, like demand forecasting, dealer churn, or any other things that we do, they all come from this record, and consistently, it is seamlessly, it is across the channel, and the meaningful decision making that we do from this data is helpful for our decision making. So this, I feel, is one of the strong things in anybody's data journey to ensure the quality of data is consistent. Yeah, thanks.
So your example or the thing that you spoke about, the computer vision. So maybe I'll just want to share an example with the audience of how and what ways computer vision, and to the area that you operate, how possible fraud detection, how Gen AI was put into use, of how computer vision can be used to detect the possible fraud. So when these, under this Swachh Bharat mission, when these toilets were being established, so these toilets have a kind of a gestation period in which the money gets paid. There are stages in which it happens. So using the computer vision, the model was trained to detect the entire toilet seat. What is the age of that toilet seat? And using that computer vision, it was required that each time before the money needs to be disbursed, the subsidy needs to be disbursed, the age of that toilet seat would be detected using this computer vision, then only it will be paid. So eventually what was happening, people were using the same seat at multiple places. So that comes from the point of how and what ways you identify the innovative use of generative AI. Train the model and then identify what ways you can improve the efficiency and also cut down, because from the government's perspective, the objective was how and what ways the efficiency can come into the picture, and at the same time, efficient use of money is put into use. So that's something which immediately came to my mind. Now we'll move to the next part of our session, where we'll quickly have very focused questions, and I would request the panelists to keep it short, because I would want to have more time interacting with the audience to take their questions. So, Vinod, sir, first we'll come to you. Specifically, very clearly, how and what ways your role as a CIO now has an edge where you are playing a pivotal role in the entire business strategy. So that's where how and what ways, and how these two vehicles, the cloud and the AI, are actually helping you to move into that.
See, Amit, first of all, I think CIOs are now fortunate that they have got seat on the table, right? So earlier were more given, they were called earlier chief productivity officers. They were asked to run the operations and give year-on-year 10% cost savings. That was the job. And all the CIOs should be thankful to COVID. That good or bad, initially it was bad because there was a single neck to choke. But eventually it was a good thing for the industry to happen, that we have got chief digital officers, chief information officers, because business understood that it has to be a tech-led, technology-led. Technology is everywhere. And technology is not a vertical thing only, it's a horizontal also. So while there are a lot of technologies which actually are not exposed to the business, for example, infrastructure, for example, security and all, but there are many areas, almost all the areas of the business where every process has got reimagined just because of business. The way you are capturing customers, the way you service them, the way you provide them the end customers as well as to the internal stakeholders. So the whole thing has changed. But as a CIO, the big deal, I think Nitin talked about the quality of data. It is same problem in airlines also, where airlines, anybody can book a ticket with hardly any information. Right? It may be an email ID or phone number, and the same customer may come next time with a different email ID. Third time it may come a same email ID but a different phone number, and eventually you end up with 4, 5, 6, 10 entries of the same customer, and customer is absolutely ignorant about it or doesn't care. But customer is expecting a 5-star service, personalized service. Not only personalized service, hyper-personalized service. Because they want to be in a target segment of one. It is for me, if I'm a vegetarian, I always prefer aisle seat, I always prefer this content. That is the expectation, rightfully so. But AI plays a huge role in deduplicating, in making sure that you have got the golden copy, the right copy. But the journey doesn't stop there. The journey starts when you are starting connecting the dots of the enterprise. I think there is where the real power of digital transformation comes. When you start connecting the customer service, you start connecting the marketing, you start connecting the campaigns, you start connecting the revenue management, you start connecting the new routes. If you want to start a new route, how do you do it? So the data, when it sits on it, so once you do it, the moment you connect each pillar, each area, each division, each department, the power starts coming in. But the fundamental to that is how good your data is, how secure your data is, how compliant your data is. I think that is very important. And also one aspect which many times we forget is that your employees, how digitally savvy your employees are. Because if your customers or employees don't understand these digital technologies, do you think they will be your brand ambassadors? No. So we say that EX is the new CX, right? So unless the employee experience is better, so you need to uplift that. Not only from the general training perspective, but also defining their careers, define their new roles. And once you do that and giving them the right tools, which can actually serve the end customers and consumers far, far better. I think that whole transformation, when you drive that, not only from the end consumer side, but also from the employee side, also to the business stakeholders, also to the boardroom, then it makes that transformation journey a little easier. Having said this, cloud, of course, you can on demand, you've got flexibility, resilience, all that comes as part of it. But there is a little catch on it, that when you're trying to get the budget approved for these digital transformation projects, board will not have patience for 6 months. That you will say, after 9 months, I'm going to deliver this ROI. Board will not have that patience. So how do you slice and dice and show them the the ROI, the incremental benefits, and show them the agility in the whole process. And there is where the whole DevOps, DevSecOps, where you put all the people. So you get the processes integrated, you get the teams integrated, and you start showing the ROI to the board, and you start getting the funding. Because funding is also very important for these projects, right? Otherwise, people will lose patience. They'll say, what? Old way was far better. Why are you marching on this plan at all? So you need to get that confidence and take them along. So that's what the journey is.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So building on to that, Nitin, if a modern age CIO is supposed to slice and dice and develop a complete ROI model kind of a thing, so what are the 3 or 4 important aspects which AI will help you to enable for any CIO to think of in your decision making?
Yeah, thanks, Amit. So let me put the context of ROI in terms of modern days. The numerator and denominator of ROI, what is the saving versus what is the amount spent, is definitely one of the things which takes care of the cost part. But what AI has also brought into picture, and like rightly said by Vinodji, boardrooms are asking it and now appreciating, is also the time part and the quality part. So cost remains as is the numerator denominator, but AI brings the time aspect also. Something which was done in 10 hours, if it can be done in 1 hour, now that for 9 hours you are saving on the opportunity cost. For example, the same computer vision case. Today in our shop floors, human beings were checking, we manufacture glass bottles. So they were checking the glass bottles defects on 100% of the SKUs. Now we have a computer vision camera which is detected, and in no span of time, at the rate of 150 bottles per minute, AI is able to scan the defects on it. Now it saves us the time, it saves us the manpower. So this is also the ROI which AI brings on table. Another is on the quality aspect. So let's say today, if we are having a loyal customers, and for us, the customers is not the end consumer, it is the distributors or the dealers who sell on our behalf, and we give them loyalty points. So the nudges on who can sell more, and the forecasting, the churning that is done is also created by AI models. So if this is the kind of quality that gets enhanced, in turn the revenue also gets enhanced. So again, AI brings the quality aspect, which is again the ROI to the business. I hope that answers.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So moving on to you, Mohit. So specifically, if you have any specific AI-related use cases or something of how it has helped you, maybe if you want to talk about that.
So I'll just add on to what Vinod and Nitin said. The ROI discussions are always there as part of any and every project that you pick up or any and every opportunity that you see. But often more or not, those were centered around cost savings part. But a lot of it has now moved towards how you enhance the top line as well. For us, we are a heavy repeat business, and we have our M1 retention numbers, M3 retention numbers. And from a technology perspective, how can technology influence those numbers by 20%, 30% so that it impacts the top line has been those use cases. So for instance, we run a CLM engine, which just reaches out to the right customer with the right kind of offers, opportunities, and everything. Now we have modified that model altogether to figure out what is the right time at which I should be reaching out to the customer, which customer should be reached or not, how do the customers respond to these offers, and from 11.5% of M1 retention, just by modifying the CLM engine, we were able to take these numbers to around 16.5% in 3 months of time. And that was one, AI aspect. So there are multiple such things that we've been doing, predictive, doing sales prediction and managing your inventories has been a traditional problem that AI has solved. But for our use case where we have a very short shelf life products, these are products of 2 days shelf life or 3 days shelf life. How can you get closer to predicting that so that it does not impact your stockouts or wastages or enhances your top line? Because if the product is available, it will sell. So those are the few aspects where we have, used AI to enhance the top lines. And the whole approach that the company is taking is that, let's figure out how does this take into account the business. I would say when you build those models, you try to learn from what other businesses have done on how these models are very, I would say, generic. Now making these models specific, tuning them to your needs, and then figuring out that, what aspect of the business, there are a lot of blind spots that we have discovered in our business itself just by looking at the data in the right form. So integrating AI as part of our day-to-day life in our day-to-day work has been the mainstream focus, and that's what we focus to build upon.
Okay, thanks. So of course, we understand that the foundation models need to be trained and they need to be contextualized from the perspective of the specific business or the problem statement that you are talking about. Now, this brings to another aspect of AI. AI is not a one-pill solution for everything. So, Rajesh, from your perspective, there we would want to understand that what are the challenges which are emerging because of AI?
So typically, skeptics will keep talking of the cost of AI. Typically, skeptics will keep talking of security. Typically, I hear, like the reliability of data and the end results and so on and so forth. So that's what the skeptics are today talking of where it comes to AI. Of course, there are negative elements, and this is AI is really a playground for all the hackers. So they can absolutely go skyward. Let me talk one or two examples in the industry. By the way, I loved your example on the Mela, Kumbh Mela. Zoom, similar example using wearable Zoom on wearable devices. Goa police used this for Christmas and New Year's last year. And absolutely wonderful results. So, yeah, there are, from a crowd management point of view, there are some really lovely examples. I also, I just recently did a project for a British retailer on the fashion industry and the garments. And they used to get their supplies from, they still do, get their supplies from India, Bangladesh, China, Sri Lanka, and so on. And there was a whole big challenge in the time delays that used to happen for shipments to go from Bangladesh to UK and thereabouts. And AI has really shortened that cycle, especially the sampling piece and the testing piece with both 2D and 3D modeling now available like this. The entire delivery cycle has been shortened. You hear of the pharma industry where, again, the product life cycle of creating a new formula has shortened. IT, I come from IT, and the entire code writing thing is changing. So where it comes to creative, once upon a time we used to think that maybe the blue-collar jobs will be impacted by automation. Actually, today the creative roles are being impacted by the whole automation and through AI piece. There are one or two negatives, if you permit, that I heard in the news recently, which I should bring out. Maybe some of the speakers, some of the audience will talk about this as well. So, for example, recently I heard about a case where $25 million was paid out because of deep fake video. So I, as an employee, believed I'm speaking with the CFO, but it was a fake video. And he asked me to transfer $25 million to a certain account, and I transferred in all good faith. And this is only the tip of the iceberg, actually, where it can lead to. Today, I believe there is technology available where I can write text and convert text to video. Imagine. And not only video, but Hollywood-style video. So the day that is, you can imagine what all possible negative impact that can have in itself. In fact, you spoke about personalization as well between Mohit and you. And let me point the other way. There was a case I read a few weeks back, which spoke about a pregnant woman who was to deliver, and she kept getting these baby product mailers. And unfortunately, she had a miscarriage. But she kept getting these baby product mailers from the mailing company, so-called personalization. But that backfired because then she sued the mailing company and she got, I don't know how much money, but lots of money as penalty. Because she says, this was torture on my mind. You kept showing me baby products when I've lost my baby. So there are, I guess, each coin will have flip sides, just to be aware. But yeah, I thought I'll give you examples on both sides.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll open up to the audience if we have any. So the first question, you need to be very crisp, your name, the organization you are representing, and from whom the panel the question is. Can we have the mics over there, please?
Hello everyone. Myself, Armeet Singh from Midland Credit Management, India Private Limited. Though we talked about cloud, we all know that currently there are a lot of challenges and risks. If you talk about the misconfigurations in the cloud, the data breaches, the unplanned, unmanaged attack surfaces, human errors. So my question is on the AI piece of it, that you all talked about the positives and some negatives as well. So my question is on the worrisome part of it, that how AI in future is going to exploit these challenges and risk further, deeper, the dark side of AI. I have recently heard that we had created a AI-generated worm as well that is self-replicating and attacking on the Gen AI applications. So this is just the beginning. So what is going to be the darkest side which we are not aware of? Thank you.
What do you want? Anyone else?
So, like I gave you two examples. It is actually for the hackers and for the negative-minded people, this is like a playground. And so it's just a question. I heard Amit talk about dealing with the government agencies to set up the laws of the land. To my mind, the laws of the land will eventually, and sooner rather than later, get stricter to make sure that you, and in fact, the onus is not just on the government, the onus is also on us, for each one of us to be careful as we drive AI forward to take care of these negative instances as well. So while the government will do the policies and making sure that it's a common or an equal playing field for everybody, but each one of us has the responsibility of making sure the negative element will stay with anything. Is a gun good or bad? You can. It's a tool. It's a tool available. You can use it for good and you can use it for bad, depending on which side is your mind.
Thank you. So on top of it, we have a new ISO 42001 in place, which has been recently introduced. So how it is further questioning, providing sort of a cushion to the organization to prevent us the harsh realities of the AI. So how that framework standard is going to help us, though it is very new. Just want to know thoughts of any one of you, if you can just throw some light on that.
So, of course, I'm really not very well conversant with this new ISO standard that you're talking about. However, each and every organization needs to have their own security policies. And they need to have their own very strict policies with respect to how and what ways they are going to manage data. There are existing laws and regulations which cover both the national and the international operations of any organization, basis which these strict regulations come into picture. Whether you're talking about GDPR or now in India specific, you're talking about the Personal Data Protection Bill. So now all these kind of regulations are there. However, I think from time to time, it is important for government and the policy makers to come up with new and enhanced measures to protect the interest of the common citizen, the common consumer. Because eventually what will happen, that the biggest casualty in this entire value chain would be the end consumer. So that's where I very firmly believe that the onus lies in both with the government as well as the large enterprises who are putting that AI to use. How and what ways they make AI responsible is something which is important. But definitely there are frameworks around which they are implementing, and this is an ever-evolving field.
My question,
3 words probably which will add. There is word ethical AI, responsible AI, unbiased AI. These are still going on, and you will see a lot of products getting compliant with that. And that will answer most of your questions once it reaches that maturity. But till then, you have to safeguard your organization yourself.
Myself, Manoj Paviria. Right now, I am teaching in NSUT University in Delhi, Dwarka. My question is with Mr. Rajneesh. As you said, in 1960s, you come across with the AI. So what exactly is AI? AI is the artificial intelligence, and we are in the process of making superhuman, who is having every knowledge. That is my, because of the cloud, because of the computerization, AI become more powerful, more. Before that, books, even the Oxford Dictionary is also AI.
No, the chatbot. The first chatbot was created in 66.
Okay.
See, eventually, what has changed from those early days? And I give you my own example. 35 years ago, I was doing predictive analysis. I could predict which of my employees is going to leave next from the organization. I could predict which of my customers is going to call up in the contact center and why. So there's predictive, it used to be called predictive analysis those days, even 30 years ago and so on and so forth. But what has changed? Today, if I take a sample of these 100 people here, 150 people here to say, everybody loves AI. I cannot publish a report that says, okay, this is a representative sample, 100% of the world loves AI. That's not true. But today, the computing power allows that, it's not just a sample size of 150, it'll be 150 billion, and so on and so forth. And once I can, 150 billion to hai nahi, so 150 million. So, the whole point is that the computing power is, and that is what is creating this AI into a buzzword now in the recent past.
Thanks. Thank you.
So this is the last question that we'll take. We have a...
May I go next?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Prabhanshu. Hello to everyone and good morning, panelists. So my question is regarding the new advisory that has been regulated by the Ministry of IT. That is regarding the compliance that every company has to be, if you are deploying an AI model or GenAI model, then you have to tell the ministry that we are doing this. So how it is impacting the industry, because I think it is not compliant for the startups, but how big organizations are dealing with that advisory.
Okay. So I would say that's an advisory which is just 2 days old. So it is really very difficult to comment on the impact of it. However, we need to divide that advisory into 2 pieces. One, where it is not curbing the innovation in any way. What it is talking about is how and what ways, if any organization, any Indian organization or any foreign organization which is trying to develop a large model in India, they need to inform the government so as to government is aware of how, yes, there is something, an AI model which is being developed as part of the Indian ecosystem. It does not apply to the startups. Specifically, startups have kept out of that. The reason being that startups are not the ones which are working on developing a large-scale model. They are the ones which are going to use the foundation model and develop products and offerings on top of that. That's why startups, to ensure that this kind of a regulation does not hamper the speed of innovation, startups have been kept out of that. And I know why this has come, because this has come because of the BARD, the erstwhile BARD, now the Gemini case which has come up. So definitely government is very clearly talking about how and what ways the AI models or the AI innovation, as Sir talked about, needs to be robust, needs to be reliable, and at the same time needs to be replicable. Because for the same kind of question, you are giving a different answer in a different context, and in another context, you are giving a different answer. That cannot be the case. It has to be very contextualized, and it has to be, I would say, reproducible and repeatable. And that's where maybe right now, I really don't know to what extent this is going to help, but definitely it is going to put some kind of a checks and balance related to how data is being put to use to develop that kind of an LLM. So,
last question, may I go?
Okay, so we have this last question. Okay, with your permission.
Yeah,
okay, please.
Hey everyone, I am Saurabh Singh. I am representing First Source Solutions. It comes under RPSG Group, Rajiv Goenka Group. So my questions I'm addressing Mr. Vinod for it. So I know, sir, you belong to Vistara, which is always under pressure aviation industry, right? So I think it is always important for these companies to be on the cloud or in the cloud always. And I would definitely believe that rest of the peers would relate to this question. In the recent time, we have seen many unpleasing news of getting delays on the flight timings. People are missing flights, right? So being a CIO, how you see that you are investing AI to cope up with these challenges?
See, flight disruption is part and parcel of airline industry. Not only airline industry, it's also in the logistics business. For example, if there is something going on the road, then your supply chain get impacted. So broadly, it is factored as part of the process because it's not only about the flight is got delayed. Look at the crews, look at the pilots, and you can't just move around people without making sure that it's all compliant with the guidelines of the government. Because a person cannot work for more than 8 hours or 10 hours, you can't have the same. So even though the person may not have flown, but you have to change. So it's a lot more. So it is part of the business process. But yes, as I said that today you have data. Earlier the data wasn't there. And then you can put the AI model on top of it where you can actually, instead of going manually and look at who can be the potential crew, who can be the next aircraft, you can get that information on your fingertips. And you can make that changes quickly. Same thing, you can inform the customers much ahead. You can give them the options, which was not earlier possible. Or earlier they had to call the, the call centers. So those are the tweaks which make sure that the employees who are managing the airline behind the scenes, they have got enough information, controls and decision points. And also to the end consumers who have to plan their trips now. And what are the alternatives we can give them is part of the strategy. And now the technology is helping them much more better way than what we were doing earlier.
Thank you, sir. So this brings us to the end of this first session. I would just like to thank all the panel members for sharing their insights and experiences. I definitely feel enlightened with much more information, to be very honest. And I feel that I am much more informed. So thanks for sharing that. I would request audience a huge round of applause for all the 4 panel members.